Why is it important for teachers to do guided reading?
Guided reading provides extra support for struggling readers in a safe setting, and it also allows teachers to differentiate their instruction so that we can reteach those skills to the struggling readers, and also we can introduce new skills to the students who are ready for it before the other students may be ready.
Well, how often and how long should guided reading be done?
Guided reading should be done every day. I spend 45 minutes a day meeting with 3 groups a day for 15 minutes. I meet with my lowest readers every day, my mid-level readers 2 to 3 times a week, and my higher readers about once a week.
Well, what do you do in guided reading?
In guided reading, we practice skills that we've learned about. We talk about and practice different reading strategies, and this is also time that I use for leveling, and we read those guided reading leveled books, and it gives me the chance to do my TPRI.
How do you know what to do in guided reading?
When I decide what skill I need to work on in guided reading with the students, I just think about the kids that are in my classroom. The teachers know these kids the best, and so I just think about what skill they need help with right now. What would make them a better reader? What could I do to help them right now to make them be a better reader? And that's usually the skill that we work on. I know their strengths and their areas where they need improvement, and so I use that judgment and also the previous guided reading lessons that we do from my notes that I take, and I use that information to decide what they need next to move them along.
Are they fancy, elaborate lessons, or?
No, all the lessons that we do are pretty short and simple. I might use a whiteboard. A lot of times I'll write words on index cards. We may play a concentration game. We talk a lot about different reading strategies and comprehension strategies, and we practice reading. And then when they're done with their reading, they take their books and put them in their book bags to practice reading at home with their parents.
What is a book bag?
A book bag is bags that we use in our classroom. They're just clear Ziploc bags, and each student chooses books from their book bags, and they also have books that they've chosen from their browsing boxes in them, and books that we've finished reading during guided reading. And they use these books to practice reading in my classroom, during self-selected reading, during book buddies, and any other extra time they have in our classroom. And they take them home, and they practice reading them with mom and dad also.
Well, what is a browsing box?
A browsing box is a box of leveled books. There's 1 level per box, and this is where kids get to choose books that they want to read based on their interest. And so they can use these books also during book buddies and self-selected reading time, and they're on the student's level, but they're based more on their interests.
Is guided reading helpful to the teacher?
Oh yes. Guided reading allows me to listen to the students read, and that way I get a better sense of what areas they need more practice in, what strategies they're using or not using when they're reading. And it allows me to be more reflective, because since I have such a small group, I can take time to listen to them more individually, and I can use the information I get to teach them.
How do you group the students for guided reading?
My guided reading groups are always changing. I group them based on whatever their needs are. So right now I have a group that's working on long and short vowel sounds, because that's the skill that particular group of kids needed. I also have a group that's working strictly on comprehension. My groups constantly change. I have a red group and an orange group. They're all colored groups, but the kids don't really know what group they're in, because I change them so often, and because I always make sure not to call, I never call my red group over to my reading table. I always call individual student names. So the color groups help me keep it straight in my mind what I need to work on with them. But I never call the kids, I never group them together like that. I just call them individually.
Do you have lesson plans for guided reading?
Yes, I keep the lesson plans because they keep me focused on my objectives. That way I don't get off track with whatever I need to be working on with them. And it also provides good documentation that I've differentiated and that I'm meeting each individual student on their level.
How do you manage behavior in centers and do guided reading at the same time?
I think that is purely good classroom management. I spent about 8 weeks at the beginning of the school year teaching centers and teaching the center routine. I taught them, I taught one center at a time, and I actually taught each activity in the center so that I was sure the students knew exactly what to do with every individual activity. We got in groups and practiced, and the last 2 weeks we actually practiced going to the center, doing the center activity, completing the center work, turning it in. So we talked a lot about what the centers looked like, what they sound like, what to do if there was a problem, since they know that they can't come and talk to me while I'm in my guided reading groups. And so we practiced that, and I explicitly taught it for about the first 8 weeks of school so that I know that they know exactly what to do in centers.
Do you have to remind them all the time, or do you say something to them daily before they go to centers?
Yes, when I change my center chart so they know what center to go to, every day I always ask them what's important to remember when they're in centers.
What is in each center, and how often do you change the activities?
All of my centers have at least 2 center activities. Some of them have more, but that provides the students with a choice of what activity they're going to do. They're all specific skills, but they get to choose what the activity looks like that they do. I also have a couple of pencils in case they forget their pencils, and I have a folder with center work because the center work keeps them accountable for their time in centers so that I know that they're responsible for their learning.
Do the students go to more than one center a day?
I think lots of teachers rotate centers, but I choose not to. I don't think either way is right or wrong. I think it's just a difference in teaching styles. But I have so many activities in the centers, and because I have so many centers, they don't go to the center often enough or stay in it long enough to get bored with the activities. So I choose not to rotate centers.
How do you make sure everything is put away correctly when center time is over?
That kind of goes back to classroom management and my expectations. We practiced at the beginning of the year, even putting away the centers and what they looked like when they were cleaned up. But I have a superstar in my classroom each week, and that person is responsible for checking the centers to make sure that they're cleaned up. And if my superstar thinks for some reason that there's a problem, she or he will call whoever was in that center back over and let them know what the problem is and ask them to clean it up correctly.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Bookman, so much for sharing your approach to a well-managed and effective guided reading lesson.
You're welcome.